December 1903, the race to conquer the sky. Well, it came down to two men. In this corner, you got Samuel Langley. Government gave him $50,000. Media followed his every move. He was the sure thing. Now, look at the other corner, the Wright Brothers. Just two mechanics from Ohio. Funding? Zero. College education? None. Not a single degree. Press coverage? Absolute. Silence. By all logic, they were dead in the water, but on December 17th, the giant? He crashed into the river. And the mechanics? They flew. We gotta ask yourself, how? How does a nobody with a wrench beat a millionaire with an army? Listen, the answer isn't genius. No. And it definitely ain't luck. The answer is hidden in the one thing the Wright brothers had that Langley didn't: the silence. You see, we live in a world that tells us if you don't post it, it didn't happen. We are terrified of working in the dark. But what if the dark is exactly where you need to be? Today, let me drag you back to Kitty Hawk. Not to give you a lesson, but to show you what greatness actually looks like when no one is watching. Because right now, maybe you feel invisible, and I'm here to tell you that is good. Langley had the applause. The Wrights, they had the discipline. Let's see who won. So, why did the giant fall? It wasn't because he lacked brains. No, Langley was a genius. But he made a fatal mistake. He fell in love with the spotlight. You see, when you have an audience, you stop building, you start performing. Every bolt he tightened, a reporter was taking notes. Every test, it had to be a show. And when you perform, you are terrified, absolutely terrified of looking ugly. Now, let's look at the mechanics. They did something strange, something that makes zero sense in today's world. They didn't hire a camera crew. They packed their bags. They left their home, and they went to the most miserable, God-forsaken place they could find, Kitty Hawk. Why go there? Sure, the wind was good, but the real reason? The reason that matters? No cameras, no applause, no one I'm to impress. They bought themselves the ultimate luxury, the luxury of being invisible. So here comes the choice. They could have stayed in Dayton, near their warm beds, near the press. But they didn't. They packed up and went to Kitty Hawk. Now, you got to understand, Kitty Hawk wasn't a vacation spot. No, it was a wasteland. Sand, storms, isolation. Why go there? Sure, people say they needed the wind. The wind was good. But I really think they went there for something else. They went for the privacy. They went so they could fail in peace. See, Langley was trapped. He was a celebrity. If he crashed, it was front page news. Langley fails again. He couldn't afford to look stupid, so he played it safe. He focused on looking ready instead of being ready. But the Wright brothers, out there in the dunes, nobody cared. They crashed every single day. They broke ribs. They looked like idiots. And because no one was watching, they just got up, dusted off the sand, and fixed the problem. Listen to me closely. Anonymity is a superpower. When the world is blind to you, you have permission to be wrong. You have permission to be ugly, to be slow. You need to crash 1,000 times in the dark so you can fly once in the light. Forget the romance. Forget the movies. The reality of Kitty Hawk was disgusting. It wasn't a laboratory. It was a wasteland, sand, salt, and wind that could rip a tent to pieces in seconds. And the mosquitoes, Lord Orville wrote in his diary. He said the swarms were so thick they turned the sky black. They chewed through shirts, through socks. The brothers had to wrap themselves in blankets just to survive the night. They ate cold beans filled with sand. They slept on the hard ground, covered in sand, day after day, for months. This wasn't passion. This was endurance, the ability to stay when the body screams to leave. But physical pain, the sand, the mosquitoes, that's easy. The real killer is the doubt. 1901, this was supposed to be the year. They brought their biggest glider yet. Based on all the correct scientific data, it was a disaster. It didn't fly. It fought them. It spun out of control. It stalled. It almost killed Wilbur twice. 2 years of work, 2 years of suffering, proved wrong in seconds. Imagine the train ride back to Dayton that autumn. No victory, no headlines, just defeat. Wilbur sat by the window, the visionary, the optimist. He was broken. He looked at his brother and he quit. He said words that history almost forgot. Not within 1,000 years would man ever fly. He wasn't being dramatic. He was stating a fact. He had hit the wall where dreams usually die. So, what did they do? Did they give up? Did they go drinking to forget the failure? No. They went back to the bicycle shop. They took an old laundry box, some scrap metal, and they built something ugly. A wind tunnel, 6 feet long, just a wooden box. And then the real grind began. Night after night, while the neighbors slept, they tested over 200 different wing shapes. Tiny metal wings, bending them slightly, watching the balance scale, scribbling numbers, again and again and again. There was no adrenaline inside that shop, no danger, just math. It was tedious, it was quiet, it was unsexy, but this is where the magic actually happened. Not in the sky, but in that ugly wooden box at 2 a.m. They found the secret of flight, not because they were brave, but because they were willing to be bored. Discipline isn't a war cry. Discipline is sitting in silence, doing the work no one wants to do, until the truth reveals itself.
Gentlemen, the age of flight is
December 8th, 1903. Langley was ready. The cameras were rolling. The crowd was cheering. The great aerodrome launched into the air and splash! It fell into the Potomac River like a bag of wet cement. Humiliation. Total. Public. Humiliation. The press ate him alive. They laughed at the very idea of human flight. Langley went home a broken man. Fast forward 9 days. December 17th, Kitty Hawk. No crowds, no reporters. Just 5 guys stood on the beach. 3 Coast Guards, a businessman, and a local boy. That was it. That was the audience for history. "10:35 a.m. The engine roared, the props spun, and for 12 seconds, man defied gravity. Snap. The photo was taken. They did it. In the silence, they actually did it. Now, this is where the movie usually ends, right? Credits roll. Hero wins. But reality? Reality is colder. They walked to the telegraph office, sent a message home. Success, 4 flights. Inform press. You know what happened? Nothing. The local paper, the Dayton Journal, the editor looked at the note, yawned, and said, "Flight too short." He threw the scoop of the century into the trash. The New York Times ignored it. Scientific American called it a hoax. Imagine that. You just cracked the code of the ages. And the world shrugs. Most people would scream. They would hire a PR agent. They would beg for attention. But the Wright brothers, they didn't say a word. They didn't try to convince anyone. Instead, they made a choice that defines legacy. They went home. They found a cow pasture called Huffman Prairie. And for the next 2 years, 1904, 1905, they went back into the dark. While the world called them liars, they were out there, dodging cows, dodging trees, flying in circles. They didn't want the credit yet. They wanted mastery. They wanted a machine that could fly for miles, not seconds. They shut their mouths and let the work speak. No applause necessary. By the time they finally showed the world in 1908, they didn't just fly. They dominated. They stunned kings. They stunned queens. They made the doubters cry. But they only won because they chose the truth over the noise. So, let's ask the question again. Why did the giant fall? It's simple, really. Langley was obsessed with looking like a success, but the Wrights, they were obsessed with being right. They didn't have the burden of an audience, and that protected them. You see, the silence didn't kill their dream. It saved it. Isolation gave them the space to break things, to look stupid, to fix the engine without shame. If the world was watching, they might have quit in 1901. But the world wasn't watching, thank God. Now, look in the mirror. Maybe you feel frustrated right now. Maybe you feel like you're screaming into the void, and no one hears you. I get it. It hurts. But take a page from the Wright brothers. Don't chase the applause. It's a trap. Langley chased it, and it broke him. Use the silence. Build your own wind tunnel. Do the boring work. Make the mistakes while no one is watching. Because one day you will fly. You will really fly. And when you do, the world will look up. They always do. But by then, you will realize something funny. You won't need them to look anymore because the work was enough. Being right was enough. Now, go build something real.